I have Jason Haber, one of the producers on the project. I also have George Pigula, he's going to be driving the demo. And then we also have Ian Fox from Simtropolis, who's actually gathered a lot of those questions. And Ian had a chance to stop by the studio yesterday and get a behind-the-scenes look at how we're making SimCity and talk to some of the dev members. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here. Yeah, we did get a chance to go to the studio and see what was going on. Whirlwind tour, and I appreciate you putting up with about the 500,000 questions that we asked you.
Love answering them.
Yeah, we didn't give you any room to wiggle on those. So, and I know some of the questions that we asked are some of the same ones that the community is going to be asking. I have a list of them right here. So we asked questions in advance on Simtropolis and Facebook and simcity.com. So we're going to ask some of those for you here. And if we have time, we're going to get to a couple of Cover It Live questions.
Coming in and being able to talk to us a day, for a day, how did that kind of change your opinion on SimCity, or really did we answer some of your questions?
Oh, we answered quite a bit. Yeah. I have to admit, I was skeptical when I came in. And my friends were too. They get on MSN, they talk to me, and they go, I'm not so sure about this. And a lot of my skepticism has been alleviated. I'm feeling much better about this game, much, much better. So getting a little excited about that, so that's always a good thing. That, yeah, I truly was skeptical, but it's much better now. And again, that's since you were so straightforward with us, that was great.
Great. Well, let's
we really do appreciate that. Yes, so let's take a look at the questions. Our first one, and I'm going to read out these usernames. Apologies if I don't pronounce some of them right. So our first question is from GreenT95. Now that the game is finally being shown, you guys must have finalized the city size. Could you please share with us the size of the city?
Sure, I'll take that one. So yeah, we get a lot of questions about size of cities. So our cities are 2K by 2K. That's similar to what a medium-sized city was in SimCity 4. And we've really added more to do in the city level. So our simulation is deeper. There's just more building that goes on at the city level. And we've really opened the experience up. So we have multi-city and region play. So it's not just about so much focus on a single city. It's really about playing multiple cities. And actually, just why don't we go into software a little bit and show off some of the depth of the simulation. So we'll go into the health map right now. And in SimCity 4, for example, it was a statistical simulation. So you go ahead and place a hospital down, and it had a radial effect, and it would treat your Sims. So in this SimCity, we're going to go open up our health map layer, and all the information is really easy to read. It's all infographics. So George is going to actually poke around and see, get an idea of where his 6 Sims are. We should see some brown areas that indicate 6 Sims. I think that factory over there that might be generating some sickness. Factories also generate injuries as well. So George could fix these problems by placing a medical clinic in his city. So let's go ahead and place a small medical center. George is going to place a small medical center. Find a good spot for that. And so there is some functionality that comes. It has some patients, rooms. It could treat some Sims. It has an ambulance. But every ploppable in the game now is moddable. So there's modules that you could add to it. So he could add more ambulances that increases the efficiency of his hospital. He could add patient rooms that allow more Sims to be treated. So he could really customize each of his individual buildings, and it adds new simulations. So that's a great little hospital you have there, George. And let's see if any of your Sims are actually going to start going to your hospital. We should start seeing them come out of their homes. We have 6 Sims. And this is a live simulation, so anything can happen. Sometimes they're a little stubborn. But there should be some Sims coming out. Oh, here they go. That's perfect. So they're actually going to travel, and George could actually...
Hey, it's Callie Moskowitz.
I wonder if they're related to Dan on the team. So they're going to go actually to that clinic that George just placed and be treated. So that's going to make his Sims happy. And that's just a level of the detail of the simulation.
Okay, a side note from what I just saw there is that unlike SimCity 4, if you wanted to expand your, say, hospital coverage, you had to destroy the old one and build a new one in the same place. But I see you don't always have to do that anymore.
Right, you could actually invest in each of your buildings even more. So.
Okay.
You can also customize what they look like as well, so you can really sort of express yourself through your buildings, and there's no fixed place that you need to put everything. You can really sort of do whatever you want.
So completely modular, in other words.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So our next question comes from Maureen KT from Simtropolis. This person points out that there's been much emphasis in the past. I mean, SimCity has always been a single-player game, and now the emphasis is on the multiplayer capability. So, so why is there so much emphasis on this in a game that's historically been single-player?
Yeah, I'll answer that. So we really thought about this SimCity as multiplayer from the ground up. So George, why don't you go ahead and pop to region view? So George could pull out here, and cities no longer are in a bubble, actually. He's playing in a region with other cities, and there's a lot of simulation that's going on between cities. And George could play multiple cities. He could invite friends into his region and play with others. But things like power and water are shared across cities, and they could purchase that power. They could share services like fire and education and garbage. They could also gift to one another, so money, resources that they create in their city. And they could also collaborate on great works. This is one of my favorite features is we have things like international airports that cities could work on together and build up, and the international airport will actually bring tourists into your region, allow you to ship more freight in and out. So there's just a lot more to do at this macro level of city planning.
Okay, so with multiplayer, I'm certainly going to give it a try myself, but there's a lot of players like me, and Clinton Davis on Facebook also says, my friends also. What about people who prefer to play solo?
I can take that one, Kip. For players who want to play solo, we know there's a lot of players out there that like to play by themselves. You can play an entire region solo. You can play all the cities by yourself. You can specialize in each city in different ways. And even if you're playing solo, you'll still be able to participate in our SimCity World features, which include things like leaderboards and challenges and our city log feature. So even if you're playing solo, you still get that richer experience of playing with other people.
Okay, I know a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's really new ways to play and engage with SimCity.
Okay. So you mentioned the great works before, and our next question is actually related to that. Matab15 from SimCity.com asks if you can complete great works like the International Airport, for example, using only cities you control yourself.
Oh, yeah, actually, so you can. I mean, you can play all the cities in the region, and those cities can collaborate together to create that great work. So it's really multi-city play is like how we like to think about it, in that you can play all those cities together or with others and do those great works. Okay,
here's a very simple question from Shishka at Simtropolis. That sounds simple, but that means it's just a few words. It's going to be a little tough for you, I'm sure. Terraforming, why was it cut?
Try to catch me off guard, huh?
Yeah, that's real simple.
So we actually thought about every city that you start in is a puzzle. So the landforms that you create and build your city in are actually puzzles you're trying to solve. So there's not terraforming as you might expect from that was in like SimCity 4. Actually, let's go to software here, George. And I think there's a little hill over here. And so we want players to kind of figure out how they're going to build on these different terrain formations. So here we've got a little mountain up here and a flat plateau. So George maybe that's a good spot to build a wind farm. There could be ore or oil or some sort of resource that he could set up a business on top of there. But you can see the tools that we give you, lots of creative tools to kind of mold and shape your city. And we think of the terraforming at a civil engineering scale. So the roads kind of carve into the landscape, and you're trying to figure out how to create switchbacks up and down these hills to kind of build out your city. And it's really a puzzle. I mean, you saw it firsthand.
Yes, some of the transportation options were completely wild. We have a lot of road geeks on our website. I'm sure they're going to like it. But yeah, some of them are completely wild. And of course, being so close to San Francisco, I'm sure you guys have a lot of experience with switchbacks.
Definitely.
And that kind of thing. So yeah, those are going to look good, I'm sure. Okay, this question is already kind of indirectly answered in a way already. SimCity Geek 101 from Simcity.com says, I have a question. Will there be water in the game? Because so far in the concept art, I haven't seen any oceans or rivers.
I'll take I'll take that. I love that name, SimCity Geek 101. Great username. Well, as you can see, yes, there is water in the game, and it looks fantastic. We're really excited about that. There's also cliffs and hills in the game, and really every city sort of has a unique terrain that you're going to work with. You can really create whatever city you want to. You could say the world's your oyster for that city, and we love saying that. And really, you can play this game however you want, and having that city and the terrain really just opens up more possibilities for that creativity.
Yeah, and I've never seen a SimCity game without water. I can't imagine how it would go any other way. Okay, I'm going to switch pages if you don't mind. Okay, so this one's a set of related questions. So people are wondering in the multiplayer, Rala from SimCity.com in particular says, will my own city suffer because of what another player does in his region? For example, pollution or crime.
Yes. So we know our fans are mischievous, and so definitely if you create a dirty industrial city that's creating lots of pollution, that pollution is going to spill out across the region and affect your neighboring cities. Also, if you choose to ignore crime, for example, those criminals could actually spill out and wreak havoc, on your neighbors. So there's some good ways that cities share, but also some evil ways too.
So you might want to make sure you're playing with people you trust sometimes.
Yes.
Of course, joining a random group could be interesting too.
Yes.
Okay, so and related to that, and this is a question of mine and that I know many other people have. What if somebody who's playing in your region just simply stops playing?
I'll take that one. Yeah, so if somebody stops playing, we want, this is asynchronous multiplay, so even if somebody goes offline for a few hours or a few days or just stops playing, that experience doesn't end for you. So that city is there's a snapshot in time. If you're buying power or water, you can still continue to buy power. You have to pay for that power, so it's not necessarily an exploit. And then if somebody actually abandons their city permanently, you could take over that city, which is really a cool feature because players are going to be able to share cities that they create, and it's kind of like be able to create their own scenarios, which we think people are going to actually love.
So there's an official abandonment kind of function there,
Yes,
and then
definitely.
Anybody could come in and pick it up?
That's right.
So you want to arrange a handoff if you don't want somebody else,
Right.
some stranger getting it, right? Okay, so, and yeah. Next question's from Nos1619 from SimCity.com. Will there be subways in the game? And I personally want to know if there will be boats. That's what he said. For me personally, not just boats, but I'm also interested in ferries.
Well, yeah, Ian, I know you're a big boat fan. We saw your shirt yesterday, so
Yes.
I can tell you there will be boats in the games. We're not going to have subways, but we do have tons of transportation options. So I think we're bringing up the software for George to show you a bunch of those. We've got buses and streetcars and trains and boats and planes, and all of those are placeable within your own city. And actually, they all go really deep. There's a lot of complexity to those. So we're going to put down let's put down a bus station here and see what happens. All right, so if we put that down, not only does that give us the bus abilities for a city, but we can easily upgrade that by adding more garages. And again, each garage adds another bus to the game. And so it lets you customize what it looks like, but also adds that functionality. And now that we've upgraded the bus station, you can actually go and start placing bus stops throughout the city. And you can see here again, we're using our data layers to show where the coverage for those bus stops are. And actually, one of our designers in the studio, Guillaume, who's also active on the forums, he did a lot of research into how far people are willing to walk rather than drive, and uses that to help drive the coverage here. So he actually looked at civil engineering books to drive that, and it's 400 meters. Who would have known? But there you go. So as you can see, our transportation systems are very deep, and actually they're nested as well. So your Sims will sort of find the best way to travel. They'll take a bus to a boat if they need to, and actually those can even go up to the regional level. Maybe you want to talk about that, Kip?
Yeah. So it doesn't just stop in your city. So George could create a large bus terminal or a large rail terminal or a ferry terminal, and that nested behavior, your Sims could actually commute or be tourists in other neighboring cities. So all the simulation works back and forth between different cities. And you got to see some of the transportation firsthand yesterday. And I mean, what do you think?
I'm liking some of the options that we got. We saw the buses and everything and how those work. Streetcars and light rail were involved. And I believe that our site had a little inspiration on that one.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
we were glad to hear that.
Yes.
So yeah, it looks like it's going to be fun to play with.
Great.
Okay, so I guess a burning question on everybody's mind, and also Ivan Lapis on Facebook. What's the estimated time till beta?
Beta. Everyone wants to know about beta. So we did announce, if you didn't know, we did announce a live beta. You could go to simcity.com now and register for a chance for an invitation. But we don't have any new news today, but as soon as we do, we'll definitely keep you informed.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that too. So, okay. I think we're probably getting close to being out of time. We're going to take a live question. Jane, and I think a lot of other people feel the same way. They possibly, anyway, it looks like it might be a little simple compared to previous SimCity games.
Yeah, that can be further from the truth. Actually, let's jump into software here. And the simulation is definitely, there's depth and complexity and integrity to the simulation. So it's just expressed in really easy to understand ways. So George, if you want to open up the population layer, and we're using these data layers, these infographics. So all the stats that you know and love from SimCity, all of that's there. If you want to dig deep and know about your budget, your taxes, your population, so here's the population layer. And this is all just using infographics to display where your Sims are in your city. So this is updated in real time. We could see where every Sim is, where they're working, where they're shopping, where your students are. So you get a real just read of the city live, and it's just, you don't have to go through spreadsheets to see what's going on. And all of our systems are like this, so you can dig deep in fire and education. So there's plenty of depth in the simulation.
Okay, and some of the things that we saw, I didn't see anything simple about it when we were at the headquarters yesterday. Okay, so that's the last question we have. Okay. Jason, Kip, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, actually, we have some announcements. So we want to thank everybody for entering the Create a Sim contest, where you can have your Sim immortalized in SimCity. And actually, we're going to announce 3 winners today, the first 3 winners. So let's see who that is. Reed Connor, you won. Look at that Sim. He's good looking. Stephen Gardeau, I love that Sim. She's the evil grandmother. And Mona Duncan actually had 2 Sims that we're going to be using. And so these will be, you'll see these appear in SimCity. These will pop up and ask you questions. So congratulations. And we're also like to announce that the SimCity is teaming up with The Sims to create a pre-order item for Origin. So if you pre-order through Origin, you'll get this mystery item that's themed as a Sims 3 content. So if you've already pre-ordered, you're already going to get this. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, go to Origin and pre-order, and you'll get that special mystery item.
Cool. And I've got one more announcement. Today, we're announcing Disaster Week. So we're going to reveal all the cool disasters that are going to be in SimCity. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to get more information. But I often get asked, hey, can I unleash disasters in my city? And the answer is yes. We know our mayors love building cities, but we know they love knocking them down too. So why don't we give you a sneak peek? George, why don't you go let loose a meteor strike in this city and see what kind of havoc that's going to cause.
Wouldn't be SimCity without disasters.
No, it wouldn't.
It's really one of my favorite parts. I'm so excited that we get to finally share it with everybody.
And we're going to be showing more of these this week.
If you go to Facebook and Twitter, I think you can actually follow the progress of Disaster Week.
So this is just the setup. Wait for it. Nice. Well, that's all we have to show today. I want to thank everyone for checking out SimCity. I want to thank Ian Fox for coming in and asking all those tough questions.
Thanks for having us.
And we know there's more questions, so we actually have a few members of the studio that are going to be online on the forums today. Dan and Guillaume are going to be answering questions, so go to simcity.com and fire away those questions. I'm going to hand it back over to Lucy now.